Good morning, everybody. My name is Armand. I see we have about 25 participants, which is pretty cool. Sabrina, which was entering. Again, my name is Armand DiFilippo. I am a director of PMO in the Strategic Initiatives Division. I came from the BSC, Business Service Center. I've been with the MTA for a little over 13 years, doing a variety of projects as a project manager and worked my way up. I initially started with the development of the Business Service Center, so that was fun. And again, I was fortunate enough to actually have experience with multiple agencies, interrelationships with agencies, and working with the unions and different functions from finance, HR, procurement, so and catching and seeing how the MTA works is a challenge in itself, and project management is very important. The theories, the methodologies, and understanding how things work. And then I also taught actually at St. Joseph's College for over 14 years. And one of the things I think everybody probably would agree with just about anything, but from a project management perspective, it's all about people too. And I think we should have all gotten like a psychology degree in addition to other certifications and whatnot, because most of it is dealing with people, right? We can build a computer, right? But we have to teach people how to use it. So that's one of the biggest things. So we'll be here for, I'm going to say, a couple of hours or so, maybe less, maybe a little bit more, depending upon how we move forward. We're going to have, let me give you a little bit of overview. We're going to do a couple of polls. We're going to have one breakout session for a group project. And like I said, this is going to be Project Management 101. And it's going to touch base on a few things, theories, methodologies, and practices, and get your mind thinking. So I'll go do a little bit of the overview, get into a little bit of the waterfall, get into a little bit of the agile, and if we have time, run over some of the appendix. Just know this, that you will also get a copy of this presentation for reference. We're not going to go through the entire appendix. It has definitions and stuff. I think it's great resource material for you to research and go back when you have questions, because as we know, things evolve, things change. So does project management. So why don't we get into it? Basically one of the things is, as you can see here, if you really think about it, if you can host a Thanksgiving dinner, I have for many, many years, you can run a project. Think about what is done. And I just threw up there Thanksgiving dinner. Think about running a family dinner or a big dinner. What do you need to do? Prep and etc. So based on that, what I would like to do, run our first poll. Caesar, if you're there, I want to ask you guys a question. How much do you know about project management? And I think Caesar's going to do that right there. Yes. So if you guys answer the question, please. We have about 25 participants, or 23, I guess, because Caesar and I are included. So 23.
Yeah.
You guys answer the question. The scope of a project is it planning? Is it execution? Planning, executing, closing, project size, requirement goals, cost, budget, and schedule. Whoop. There we go.
We're at 65%, 73, 78, 82.
I like this.
Yes, move fast.
Yeah.
Just a couple more.
Yep. Come on, we could hit 100. I always like the 80%.
Yeah.
Come on, there we go.
There it is.
Come on, 90%. Two more. We got you.
That's us.
That's right. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. So what do we have here? We have planning, executing, closing. The scope of the project is, dun, 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 dun. Let's do this. What am I doing? Okay, I'm gonna move you over here. Whoop. It's not helping, but it should be project size, requirements and goals. Let's do the next one. I don't have this problem.
Hold on, give me 1 second there. I think
Take your time. I usually,
we ran into a hiccup.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the answer for the first one.
yeah, the scope of the project is project size, requirements and goals.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's go back to the next one. I think it's this one. Yeah. Second one.
Second one. Thank you, guys.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. My apologies with the, I don't usually have this. Oh. Okay, how much do you know? What are the 4 main phases to a project? So some of the things you might, don't confuse Lean Six Sigma if you've taken that. It is, I am a green belt in Lean Six Sigma, working towards the black belt. I think that's a fantastic. A lot of methodologies overlap. We got to hit 80, at least 80%. So we got 18 people, 19. Come on, we get 1 more, 2 more.
Just about. All right.
This is also the second one. Initiation, planning, execution, and closure. And again, let me explain, and this is just for this group, and this is for this training session. There's a lot of phases, multiple phases. You go for, if you're going for your PMP eventually, if you think about that, project management professional, in the world of PMBOK, PMBOK, project management body of knowledge, they'll have actually 5 phases, and they may call it a different number. I like this 100 answered. I like this. So again, initiation, planning, execution, and closure. We do monitor and control within the Lean Six Sigma world. Let me close this out and let's move on. So, what is a project? And we have to think about, not think about this. What is a project? We have to understand a project is a temporary endeavor, okay? A temporary endeavor undertaken to create a new, unique product, service, or result. Understand it's temporary, whether you're going for, whether you're learning other methodologies, and we'll go into Agile, Scrum later on. You can do PMBOK world, any kind of project, you think about it. The project in our world, we need to work with a lot of people, and we need to let them know it's, we don't let them know it's temporary, but there's a beginning and an end of a project. Then you can start other features and etc., but there has to be a beginning and an end so that you can deliver on your results. Where do projects come from? They drive change from a current to a future state. It enables businesses to benefit from tangible or intangible features or benefits. What is it that's tangible? We can create and upgrade. If you work in PeopleSoft, we can add additional features to support a business function. Intangible would be is that the MTA portal supports the employee base. And where do they come from? Projects can come from multiple places, as you can see. They could come from meeting regulatory, legal, or social requirements, satisfying stakeholder requests or needs. It can create to improve, fix a product, process, or service, implement or change a business or technology strategy. So they pretty much can come from anywhere. So from a group discussion, let me ask you guys, have you or will you be assigned to work on a project? So in the chat, let me open up my chat. Let me know in the chat, let me know if you are on a project and how long you'll be on that project, or will you be assigned a project? Just throw in, you're working on a project and it's going to take 3 months, 2 years, 3 years, etc. All right, Peggy, no projects, yes. Caroline, yes, you'll be assigned periodically, good. Hey, Michelle, how are you? Yes, months. I'm working on a project more than 8 years. So those are the things that we have to sign 4-year capital construction. That'll do it. Setback due to COVID. We could talk about that too. Yes, for months. So pretty much working on multiple projects with different durations. How are you managing that one? That's a tough one. Yes, a few projects with periodic and random checks. The same time range from 2 to 6 months. Yep. Projects multiple years. The PUM upgrade and the Hyperion upgrade to the cloud. Congratulations on that one. I don't know how you got assigned to that one. Sorry. Several years long. All right. Nice. So you can see the durations. Is your projects, do you have a temporary endeavor, so to speak? Do you have a temporary or a definitive beginning and end of a project? Multiple capital construction projects go multiple years, but you have phases to implement. The elements of a project, there's 4 basic elements of a project: scope, resources, time, and money. So the scope involves the project size, goals, and requirements. We mentioned that earlier. Now, this is a big thing to do, is to narrow down the requirements, right? Sometimes not from a capital construction perspective, but from a software development or from the user environment, so to speak, the user requirements. They may not know exactly what they want. So that scope has to be thoroughly analyzed with the business functions, and we need to help them help themselves and identify what they want, so we can actually narrow down the time frame to implement. We'll go that in the next one. The resources is not just people, right? It is the teams, but it's equipment, materials required for a project. From a software perspective, you need servers, you need environments, development environments, that is. Time, how much time will the project take? And we could break those elements of the tasks down into durations and dependencies. And we'll talk about the waterfall later on. Is something have to be done before the next item can start? One of the things I always go with is a construction project, like building a house. In order to build a house, we have to write down what needs to be done, right? So what is the first things you do? If the land is not cleared, you got to clear the land. Before you start building, you have to dig a hole so you can put in a foundation. Down the foundation's in, we can start building the frame and etc. Also, when you define what your requirements are and how long is it going to talk, how much is it, how long is it going to take, how much is it going to cost? What is the project budget? Sometimes we will get direction to build something, and you have a certain amount of money to actually create that. And you need to spend that within a certain period of time. From the MTA perspective internally, as you can see here, so not all projects have budgets. If it's a small and involves internal resources, it's an activity and tasks that we just take on, and we don't necessarily have a budget. But depending upon the size of the project, the time it takes for the project, even in the IT world, then we would definitely need to assign a project budget. Project Management 101. What is project management? It's the application of processes, methods, skills, knowledge, and experience to achieve a specific project objective according to the project acceptance criteria within agreed parameters. That is a lot of words for what we just went over before. Project management is, I'm going back, to manage your scope, the time, and the money. So what we talked about years ago was the triple constraint, which is your scope, your time, and your budget. We've added, I don't want to say a few years ago, I'm going to say like many years ago, but like 20 years ago, your triple constraint was managing your scope, your time, and your money, along with the resources, because the resources support the project. But your triple constraint is your scope, your time, and your money. But what we're going to do is, I'm going to add this on next, is quality. You have to think about quality too. So the main objective is to achieve project goals and targets while keeping in mind the scope, the time, the quality, and costs. It facilitates the project workflow with team collaboration on a single project. And who leads this is the project manager, right? They play the lead role in planning and executing projects. They're accountable. These are the words. You're accountable for the entire project scope, the team, the resources, the budget, and the success or failure of the project. Just again, don't think about, you think about your work and how this can apply to your work, but this also applies to anything else, as simple as Thanksgiving dinner, right? What is your scope of the Thanksgiving dinner? What do you plan on doing? Who's helping you? What do you need to get the dinner done? And how much is it going to cost? Or how much do you have to spend? These are the things you keep in mind when you're doing a project. The 4 phases of project management for our perspective, we went over this earlier on: the initiation phase, the planning phase, the execution phase, and the closure. Now, there's other things involved, right? There's testing, there's training we need to review. But from our perspective, the 4 main phases is that you initiate a project. This is the starting phase. It's all about understanding and identifying the goals. Again, we're going to repeat this quite a few times. The goals, the scope, bring in risks, who are the stakeholders, and the priorities of a project. What is the goal of the project? Who are the stakeholders, which means who are people that are going to be impacted by this project. We'll get into a couple other things in a minute. This is important. And when I say stakeholders, and it doesn't matter what role you take on a project. From my experience, and not just from the MTA, because what are we doing? We're working with people, right? And people tend to have their own agenda or their own initiatives, or they don't necessarily know everything about a project or everything that they want. The stakeholders is huge. You want to know that you have executive buy-in, because if you don't have the executive support from the top down, so to speak, you're not going to have a successful project. In addition to the stakeholder from the top executive buy-in, what are you doing? Let's just say we're modifying for finance, for our finance department and our accounts payable department. They pay bills. They have multiple processes, and some of it is manual, right? Well, we want to help the analysts, the operations analysts, and take the paper and make it digital. Well, that's a project. Part of the stakeholders should include those analysts. Because at the end of the day, they're gonna be using the system. So you want their input early on. A lot of the stakeholders are sometimes, a lot of the people that should be stakeholders are sometimes overlooked. So keep that in mind. Now, we're building a house or we're doing a software. Now's the planning phase. What are the activities? What's part of the planning phase? The activities, durations, dependencies, and the resources. And you can put this all down into a project plan. We're building a house. What are the dependencies? Well, I can't build a frame until I do the foundation. How long are things going to take? And there are industry standards of durations for certain activities for a lot of different types of projects, specifically for software, right? We do have durations. For building a house, there are durations. There are solid durations, no pun intended, for the time it would take to the foundation, whether you're building a basement or a slab, for the time for the cement to cure. You can't just pour the cement, right? And then the next day start building. It needs time for the cement needs time to cure. So that's part of your duration. To do the frame, we need, the dependency is that the cement needs to cure. So these are the planning phases, and this is going to tell us how long it's going to take. Now we execute. This is when the team members come together and turn this project plan into a deliverable. What is it that we're delivering? We could deliver things in multiple phases, but what are we delivering? We're going to deliver clearing the land. We're going to deliver pouring the foundation. We're going to deliver doing the framing of the house, and etc. Project managers track this progress, and we don't want to do this too often, depending upon what we're building, but sometimes the plans need to be adjusted during execution. Now, this is important because this can go across a variety of industries. But let's just say we're doing a software project and we're modifying someone's Michelle, you said, yeah, you're on the PUM. Well, there are plans to implement an upgrade. Sometimes those plans need to be adjusted based upon experience gathered or learned during the development, the execution, because you've learned that, oh, wait a second, we have an issue with this other part of the system that either needs to be monitored, needs to be modified, etc. So now a duration of a task may be pushed out because of a dependency of something we uncovered that we did not know. Get to a point of the closure. This is when the team hands over the deliverables and reviews the project performance, and then move on to another project. You're building a house. The closure phase is at the end of the project. You're handing the keys over to the homeowner, and then you move on to the next house. So that being said, think about, let's do a team activity. Caesar's going to help us with this. It'll take about a minute or so.
Yeah.
But based upon your knowledge, your experience, he's going to put people in groups. Think about this. You and your team, once you get into a team, you have to paint 2 rooms in a house. The house is old, has not been painted in 20 years. There are 10-foot popcorn ceilings in each room. You have 7 days to complete the project with a $1,000 budget. This is what I'm giving. Please answer those questions. What is the plan? How will the team execute the plan? What resources will the team need? And what does the final project look like? Caesar, you with me?
Yeah.
I-
All right, so we're gonna open up the breakout rooms, and it's gonna be about 5 people to a room, 5 people to a room. And how long do we need it for?
Let's do 15 minutes.
Okay. 15 minutes it is. Rooms are opening now, and I will share this screen with you guys so you can see it from there. All right.
Yep, and think about it, again, this is your scope, your time, and your budget. Is there, a-
So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
you have one spokesperson.
Oh, right, sorry, I forgot that. And please, in the groups, select one person to report back on the questions. What is the plan? How will you execute? What resources is needed? And what does the final project look like? I'm leading you into what I'm providing you. I'm giving you a scope, I'm giving you a time, and I'm giving you a budget. Based upon this information that you have, what is the plan? What is the team? How will the team execute the plan? What resources will you need? And what does the final project look like?
All right.
Let's do it. Why don't we start with room number one? And how do you know what room you're in? I'm just going to pick Aisha Morrison, your group.
That's Aisha, Kevin, Peter, Rena.
Yeah, I'm here.
Did I say that correct?
You said it correctly.
All right.
I'm always talking, so I didn't want
Yeah,
to
she
be
just
selected
shows it all the
to
time.
speak, but I mean, if you want to pick somebody else from my group, that's fine, because I don't want to be like the, you know.
I said I
If you
would
want me to, it's
lead
fine
this
too.
for
Who?
our group,
What's who is that?
Mary,
Go for it.
MMM,
I like that. MMM,
yes.
mixed martial arts. Well, no, that's MMA. Go for it.
We had, for our group, we decided our resources were gonna be 2 people. And the plan was to do it in the 7 days. We were gonna do 3 days for one room and 3 days for the other room. And the last day would be the touch up on both rooms and clean up. Our budget we had as 200 for material and 300 per day, 300 for each room, and then 200 profit. I mean, honestly, the 1,000 is a little, I mean, if I could find somebody to do that, I'd have it in a minute. So
Right,
we were kind of just pretending.
right, right.
And so the 3 days included per room was going to be, we're going to do it, split it between the 2 rooms. So the 3 days would be include the first day being prep and prepping the room and covering and everything else. And then 2 days of paint, and the same with the second room.
I like that. I like that you worked it out so that you came under budget.
Well, we needed a profit.
Yeah, okay, so 2 people within 7 days, $200 for material, $300 per room, plus cleanup. I like that.
It's not fair. You didn't put in the scope that you can use 1950s salaries.
We made that
Well,
assumption.
True. That could be in your scope, yes, that you had family members paint the room and you were they were giving you a family discount. How's that? I like that. All right. Room number 2.
Just so you know, we wasn't on the same team. I don't know what team that person was on, but.
Oh, I don't know what team I was on. I didn't notice.
Yeah,
my
she
team
was,
name.
it wasn't on
Oh,
team 1, though, just so
okay.
you know.
No, Aisha,
That
thank
was
you.
on.
Oh, you guys were room 3.
That was room.
Yeah, that's
three,
room 3.
Okay, that's cool, Mary. That's fine. That's
Sorry.
okay. We're good. No, you're good. I like that though. All right, Aisha, how about you?
I was passing a baton to one of my teammates.
Well, pass it. Have your team. Who was it?
I would call on Rena, but I always do that to her too. So,
Yeah, don't call me.
what's his name? I'm looking, I'm sorry. I think it was,
You have- There's
Peter?
Kevin, Nina, Peter, Rena, and
I think it was Peter.
Tasman?
Yes,
All right.
yes.
I mean, not everybody has a
Pick-
common name like
Pick
Armand.
Peter.
Peter, go for it. Is Peter with us?
Peter.
All right. All right, let's just go.
Yeah,
Okay,
hi,
so
sorry. Were you trying
we-
to say
Yeah.
something to me?
Yes, Peter.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No worries. Want to speak out on your team?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
You want to answer the questions, the plan, how you're going to execute it, resources, et cetera, for the project?
All right, yeah, just a couple questions about the scope here.
Mhm.
So we're just repainting the walls in the room, no trim, no molding. We're not scraping off the popcorn ceiling. We're not doing anything like that.
I gave you the scope.
Right, so,
That's a good question. I gave you the scope, and with the scope, what are you doing?
oh, for $1,000?
So,
For
no,
$1,000, I'm painting over everything and doing the trim work. So we're going to be doing trim work. If priming is needed, we're going to do priming. We're going to have probably a 5-gallon bucket to do to the 2 rooms with 10-foot ceilings. We need wall paint, ceiling paint, primer. We need some brushes to do trim work. We're going to need extension pole with the roller to get the ceiling and the height of the walls. So the first day, what we're gonna do, we're just gonna go to prep the floor, check the floor, and other surfaces. Take off, what are those called? Take off wall plates, like
Switch plates.
switch plates. Yeah, there we go. I keep forgetting that.
Nope, that's good.
And fix any issues with the sheetrock. So that'd be like spackle work.
Yep.
And then and then we'll actually, the second day, we're going to start our painting after everything is already prepped. Spackle work is done, so plates are off and floor is protected. Start painting the walls, and then third day and the ceiling, and then third day is going to be touch up.
Any issue with the budget?
With the budget, I think honestly, I think we can do that. Probably get a profit out of it too.
And the duration, the time?
3 days.
I like that. You addressed the scope. You had a question with the scope.
Mhm.
So I that's important. Sometimes you're given a scope.
Right.
Sometimes that scope is not clear. All right, because part of the scope, we come out with the requirements. So what is my scope? This is what you have. I'm giving your team to paint 2 rooms in a house, some information. The house is old and hasn't been painted in 20 years. 10-foot popcorn ceilings. You've addressed that with the pole and your duration. So you questioned, are we doing just the walls? Or are we doing trim work too? That's huge. So you looked at what I gave you and you responded accordingly. I like that. That's important. Cool.
And
Thank
just to add,
Yeah.
we did not consider scraping the ceiling because we know that asbestos is associated with it. And that can make the entire scope change. So
Awesome.
that was
Awesome.
the reason for using the extended painting pole.
Perfect. You got the extended pole because why? It's a 10-foot ceiling. Yep.
Yeah, we're not scraping it.
That's
'Cause
awesome.
it may be asbestos associated. So that's something to consider. Especially if it's a 20-year-old house that hasn't been painted, it's definitely probably asbestos associated.
Right. So you just said it. Okay. And you're going to hear this word, consider. You're considering a lot of things, right? And at the end of our, we tried to joke here and there, but we want to make sure our projects are very considerate, right? Because we want to make sure we've addressed and took care of as many questions as possible. But I think that's excellent. I gave you the scope. You have the time and you have the budget. You addressed the questions based upon collaboration. Good job. Room 2 has Michelle Delpeche. Hi, Michelle. Anybody in your group want to talk? Thanks, room 1. Thanks, Aisha and team.
I don't know which room I am in.
Rowena is in room 2. That's you.
So we're done explaining.
You can explain. Yes.
Oh, I think it's the same with the other, that we have to do the scaling, like $200 per, maybe we can do the 1 day for 3 person. and then primer, maybe 3 days and 300. That's including the resources. First coating, then second final coating. It cost me 800 budget, $800. Yeah, $800. And same thing like that, the popcorn ceiling is considered to be a safety concern, like if there is a asbestos abatement, there's unforeseen thing. Since they give us only $1,000 for 7 days, I will not do the 10-feet popcorn ceiling scaling.
Repeat that one more time. I'm sorry. I got the safety concerns in regards to the popcorn ceiling. Are you painting the ceilings or no?
Oh, painting, yeah. I have first primer, second coat, first coat, second coat. And I have a budget of 800. The scaling is subject for discussion because that is I don't know if there is an issue for asbestos since it is 20 years painted. You know, that's
Very cool.
yeah. It's my budget only is 800.
I like that. You considered the safety portion of this popcorn ceilings because you're not aware of any asbestos.
Thank you.
Nice. All right. So we did room 3. Let's go to room 4. Who's in room 4? I'm just going to pick the first person. Caroline. Is Caroline, Justin, Peggy? Any of you guys have a spokesperson? Nope.
It's looking like Peggy might want to be the spokesperson.
Let's go, Peggy. Are you there?
I was, because I'm the novice in this one, so it's like, whoa. But
Novice is good. Novice
yeah,
is good.
basically the plan was to assess the rooms, how big the rooms are, and to split the team up to cover both rooms. As far as the popcorn ceilings, we were probably going to call in a favor from an inspector just in case if the ceiling was done with lead paint. Also, we were also going to call in a favor for the ladder. And we were trying to come up the budget by $500.
You want to do it for 500?
We want to do it for 500, but I think it might cost a little bit more, but at least we're not doing the entire $1,000. We were going to call in some favors.
I like that. Okay. Can you do this in 7 days?
Yes. We were actually, yes, we were able to do it. I think we were probably going to come in less than 7 days, maybe 5 days. But yes, we definitely was going to be able, because since we're going to split and have some people do room 1, have the other people do room 2, we will definitely come in before 7 days.
I like that a lot because you're not painting. You're going to
Correct.
favorite. So first you're going to assess the size of the room and you're going to say, wait a second, I ain't painting. Nah, not at all. And I want this under budget and under time. That's what I want. I like that. I'm calling in favors.
Favors, that's right.
I like that. Okay, so room 3 had the family, I say the family discount because they came in under budget for $200. You're calling in favors. I'm not asking who, but that's okay. We just need to get it done.
Done, that's it.
My
Period.
my goal is I gave you a scope, I gave you a time, and I gave you a budget. I'm hiring you, get it done. You have to do it. And how did you do it? I like the inspector because we don't know about lead paint. You considered that.
Mm-hmm.
Room 2, safety concern about asbestos. Did you guys talk to each other? Room 2 and no, right? But you had similar concerns about the ceiling. I like that. Very cool. Peggy, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, room
Thank you.
5, who wants to
Team.
talk? This is good. Room 5, we have Erica, Haney, Jonathan, Sabrina, and Sheldon.
Hi, Armand. Jonathan here.
Hey, Jonathan.
So I tried to jot down some notes as we spoke, as our group spoke. I'll try to relay everything as clearly as possible, even though we were kind of bouncing around ideas. I guess just to begin, what the plan is basically, as the scope mentions, to paint 2 rooms within 7 days. So there are a lot of unknowns within the scope as it is right now, as it's written. Just as other teams have mentioned, we don't know who owns the house. Are we the owners of the house? Are we the team? Is it a wife and a husband who just brought the house? Because that can change things, right? Or are we a contractor and we're providing this service to someone else? So there's a lot of unknowns as to, different aspects of the scope. And then, so how will we execute it as the plan as a team? So we would, I guess, define how many or calculate how much material we're going to need of paint or plaster or whatever other materials. We would identify also the quality of the finish that we want, which would affect the budget. Is it level 4 or 5 painting in the room, or is it going to have molding? We will and then another thing is, as mentioned before, we would analyze the risk of the space, or is it going to need? Are we going to need lead abatement, or asbestos abatement? And how much money is going to go into that? Are there safety issues within the room? Is the ceiling going to fall apart? Is there a structural issue? So we would just assess the room and then kind of help define the scope as needed, which can mean that we don't even end up painting the rooms. We just basically start taking care of other issues. So what resources will we need? We would need, the materials, the paint, and whatever other materials. We would need equipment. We would need to, I guess, have a budget and follow a budget, depending on the industry average and labor cost. We would need test kits, or possibly someone to come in and test the safety issues. And we would just need a schedule and planning and a timeline. So what does the final project look like? And just generally, we think it's going to be 2 habitable spaces, clean and safe, with the best finished quality possible within our means, financially and I guess skill wise. So I guess it would depend on who's the owner of these spaces. Is it, if it's just 2 people who just purchased a house, they might not care about the popcorn ceiling, or they might want to get rid of it depending on their style. They want to have a modern finish, or if they want to have, they don't mind the popcorn ceiling. Maybe that's a style that they like. So the project can look, I guess, in general, just in many, many different ways.
So I'm going to hire Peggy because she's going to come under budget and under time. So Peggy, you're it. You said you're a novice. I'm going to hire you.
Well, that's what she's saying. She's saying she's going to come on the budget, but I doubt she's going to come on the budget once she start realizing all the issues and what the industry standard costs are.
Yes. So I mentioned this earlier. Consider a very considerate project. You have touched upon a lot of things, and that you're going to probably cost me like $5,000, right? Can you do this in 1,000? No, Jonathan, you're on mute. Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know. I can't give you a straight up answer. As a contractor, I wouldn't give you a straight up answer yet until I have all these other variables checked out.
All right. So I'm still hiring Peggy because I'm getting it done. You're scaring me because of all the unknowns, which is very cool, by the way. All right. Are you the owner? Are you the contractor? What is the quality of finish? Are you doing molding? What's the risk? Holy cow. I just gave you a little bit, and yes, you're right. No one group is right or wrong, okay, on this, right? Unless you're going to go and paint a house, paint 2 rooms for $1,000.
I gave the award to group 4, but
I like Peggy. She's hiring. I want Peggy's friend, by the way.
So what I'm learning from this exercise is do it under the table and forget regulation.
Oh.
Right,
Ooh.
right. That seems to be the direction we're going.
I mean,
here.
does
I
New
agree
York
with that
City,
gentleman.
does New York City have some kind of lead abatement
Ditto
requirement?
to that.
Yeah.
I like that, Doug. Doug, that was very cool.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of legal issues, you know, if you go a certain
Definitely.
way with this project.
Yes.
True.
I think that is awesome. Like I said, again, I'm still hiring Peggy, by the way, but that's just me. Guys, so I think this was an excellent interaction. I think this was an excellent outcome. I mentioned considering. I gave you the information. You have the scope, the time, and the budget. You needed to address the questions. Think about this activity when you're given. And I say it like that is because sometimes, most of the times, we are given the scope. I need this room built. I need this software enhanced, right? And I need it done within a month, and I need the budget to be whatever. Generally, that's basically what happens to most projects. That's the reality, right? No, we don't want to forget about regulations because eventually, we have inspectors to come, right? So there are things to consider. And I just want you guys to know that going forward, that we're going to have that word, very considerate, a very considerate project. So, excellent activity. Why don't we move on? We'll do a couple more slides and then we could take a break. I think let's take a break at 10:30. And then we'll take a break and then come back and try to finish it up by like 11:30, if that works. Or do you want to keep going? What do you guys want to do?
You got it.
You said take a break until what time? I'm sorry, I missed that.
We can either we could continue on for a few more slides, or we take a break now for 15 minutes. Or call, your call.
Yeah, either now or at 10:30.
Let's continue.
Yeah, let's continue. Let's do it. All right, I like that. So where are we here? Let me see. I do this. Yes. So now let's get into a little bit of methodology. Again, it's just touching the top of the iceberg in project management. And I encourage you to continue taking these information and build upon it. Build upon it with your knowledge, build upon it with your experience. So let's talk about methodology. What is project management methodology? It's a set of principles and practices that guide us how the project will be organized. This is something to help us implement this. How do we do this? Now, I'm giving you a scope, a time, and a budget. How are we going to execute this? Well, we're going to utilize, or can utilize, a couple of methodologies here. We have the waterfall and the agile. Not every project will fall under the waterfall methodology. It can. Is it efficient? This is some of the questions we may have to ask. Depending upon the type of project, it could be agile. Different types of projects will use different types of methodology. For example, as I had a software project, we'll use a different methodology than a healthcare project. What's the difference? Software, we're leaning towards more agile versus waterfall. Waterfall provides, as the definition here, provides a simple framework for planning a project. Tasks are in sequential order. The team completes one task or step and then performs the next one. So think about the waterfall, right? Think about building a house. We have to clear the land before we could dig the foundation. So the first step is clear the land. Second step, dig a hole. Third step, pour the foundation, right? You can't pour the foundation before you have the hole. So it's one step, next step, what can we do? Now, again, right, once you have the frame of a house, there are parallel activities that can be done. But within those activities, and I'll show you, and I'll give you an example later on, within those activities, there are still dependencies. Agile, from a software perspective, means that we want to, and I always go, I have accounts payable on my mind. But we want to modify the accounts payable system. But from an agile perspective, we don't fully understand, or we don't fully know what the outcome really is, which is how to get to the outcome, but we know what we want. So from an agile perspective, they can do iterative enhancements. So depending upon the type of project, then you pick a methodology. With that, what's the size of the team? You need to understand what is the size of the team. Depending upon the type of project and depending upon the time to complete this project will tell you or dictate kind of how many people you need on that team. To build a house, there is a maximum capacity of contractors before they start stepping on each other, right? But you can have a lot of people to work on that project to build that house quick. Can you do that with software? It depends upon what you're doing. Keep in mind that the scenario that I use, 9 women cannot have a baby in a month, right? It takes 9 months. We know that it takes 9 months. Can we have 9 women and have it done in a month? No, we can't. So take that scenario and think about what you're doing, and can we shrink the duration? We'll get that down in a little bit. We mentioned earlier, they were early on the other project. What are the risks? Will the project require a detailed management? What are the risks within this project? So there are construction risks when building, safety concerns. I mean, when you have to, put safety procedures in place for building a house. What are the risks for doing software? You have to think of that when you get into a bigger area. Systems thinking is that I'm doing a software. How will it impact other parts of the system? I'm modifying the accounts payable area. Will it impact accounts receivable? Will it impact payroll or timekeeping? So those are the risks. Size of the project, right? Dictates this. Will dictate the team. Is it a small or a large project? How are changes managed? Change management is huge. Change management is a whole other arm within project management. Can changes be adopted easily? We clear the land, pour a slab, right? Which is a solid foundation. Start building the frame, and we have the frame. All of a sudden, the owner says, you know what? I really wanted an 8-foot basement. Well, what happens with that change, right? That's a drastic change. Is it yes, no? You have to review all the, what are we going to do? Take the house down and dig a hole. It's going to cost a lot of money and more time, right? That's what you have to manage on that kind of a change. Software, again, how can changes be adopted easily? As you learn and as you know, how do we modify that change? And what's the impact to that change? Duration. Is the project time sensitive, and can it be completed on time? I said, I'm hiring Peggy. She's going under budget and under time as a stakeholder. That's what I want. Right? And here's the other thing. How involved are the stakeholders? These are things that you could be performing multiple times within your project, and monitoring and managing. There's a stakeholder management plan that you can develop. There are so many things to address within that. How involved are they? Or how involved are the stakeholders? Because if they're not involved or they are involved, it's big. Let's see, what did I do here? And you guys, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or input, just jump right in if you have. Mentioned to you the waterfall. Let's go into a little bit of here. Waterfall, you have your requirements, you have your design, your execution, verification, and deployment. Yes, there's quality in all this stuff. There could be training and testing. That's your verification, is the testing. There's a training module, a training step that is. The definition. Waterfall is a project management approach where a project is completed in distinct stages and moves step by step towards the ultimate release to the consumer. You're building a house, you dig the hole, foundation, etc. Activities on the waterfall project has to happen in the exact order, and one set of activities cannot start before the previous one ends. Can I put the roof on if I don't have the rafters? No, you can't. Planning is the most important thing on the waterfall project, and I'm going to stress this later on in another example. If you don't plan right, you're not going to, the phases may be late in completing, or you may not even complete it, which will then push out subsequent phases, impact the project's deadline, and always cost, right? You move your time out, and the association with that, it's either going to cost you more, or the duration of the project moves out and you're not going to get the product out in time. Agile is, you could read upon this also if you're going for Scrum. It's an umbrella term for a set of frameworks and practices. So they say Agile is a methodology. It really isn't. It's like a Scrum, which is a framework and practices that's based upon values and principles, if you want to read the Agile Manifesto, which in a sense, it's the years back project management methodologies, waterfall and others, that have been modified over the years to come up with Agile. Agile, I think, came out in the mid-90s, late 90s, something like that. The principles of the manifesto define the core of agility and efficiency in the development process. I'll give you an example in a little while as to the next slide, actually, what's the difference between the Agile and waterfall. The focus of Agile is on collaboration and the self-organizing team, right? And again, it's technically not a methodology, but a mindset on how to do things, how to approach. Agile is best in the software world, whereas your stakeholders are asking you to do something, but they really don't know exactly what their end product looks like. Waterfall methodology is used for building a house because, you know what, I have a design of a house that I know, and this is what I want. And you can only use the waterfall methodology in that way because you're not going to build a house and say, you know what, I don't want that. I want a room over here. I want a room over there. You need something specific. Software, not so much. Let's look at this example here. Agile versus waterfall. From a scope perspective, I'm going to ask you, I need something to take me around. I'm going to use this, take me around the country, take me around the states. I don't know what it is though. Agile is going to give you the scooter. They're thinking, well, if you don't know what you want, I'm going to just come up with this. Waterfall is going to say, well, we can build you this, but I'm going to start with the frame. And you're going to use the frame and say, you know what, okay, fine, I still can't do anything with this. The Agile, you're going to say, yeah, I can pedal through the streets, I can scoot around, but it really doesn't help me. Next step is that, all right, now you're giving me a bicycle. I can, all right, well, you know what, now I can go through my town, you know, with that. All right, it helps, but it's really not really what I want. Waterfall, next one, right, is giving you at least a tire, maybe an engine. All right, but I can't do anything with it. I just can't, it's not usable. Agile continues going, all right, now we'll give you a scooter. All right, well, yeah, I could get 2 cities with this, not bad. Now Waterfall says, all right, here, I'll give you a whole engine and tires and etc. Now you said, now I can finally drive and go someplace. Agile gives you the same end product, or gives you the end product and saying, yeah, now I can drive through the country. Again, the first one is, I know I want to do something, I want to go places, and I don't know what I'm going to use to get to these places. And with that, we're going to give you, again, scooter, then a bike, then a motor scooter, and then a motorcycle. Waterfall is like, can't do anything until I give you a final product. With the Agile, key terms in Agile, there's user stories. This kind of puts it in perspective. So if I don't know what I want within this discussion of the Agile, in consulting with the customer or product owner, the work is divided into functional increments called user stories, which tells me, all right, we're going to build this, which documents the capabilities, but it doesn't define how I'm going to do it. Example, let's just say, as a guide, I want to be able to take people places so that they can see different places, take people around town so that they can see the beauty of the town. Right? We're not doing we're not telling you how to do it. We're telling you what I want. During this thing, the team will have daily meetings to discuss their status work and identify any obstacles that stand in their way, right? Anything is, what's a barrier? What's preventing you from moving forward? Within the Agile, it's a small group of people assigned to the same project or effort. And what we prefer is have them work on this full-time basis, right? Kind of hard in our world, but that's really what it is. A small minority of the team members, maybe part-time, and may have competing responsibilities. I think we deal with that on a regular basis. Incremental development is in Agile, whereas this is incremental development. We start with the tricycle, then we go to the bicycle, then we go to the scooter, then we go to the motorcycle. That's incremental development, where they build upon the previous version. And again, iterative development, where they intentionally allow for repeating software activities and revisiting the same work products. And then milestone retrospective is that during the project manager, the team members analyze the project's significant events. So these are good terms. So me personally, I'm kind of like a hybrid kind of guy, whereas we combine the both waterfall and Agile. As you have here from the waterfall, you have your requirements, you design, you build, you test, and you execute, right? So that's your schedule. From a hybrid, for Agile, is that you have sprints, right? And you do what you can do, you develop a deliverable, and you build upon that deliverable. I like the hybrid, whereas you can do kind of little increments and move on. Let's just see, Agile Scrum. So again, this is kind of confusing sometimes. And what do we got here? Let's just see, keep going, we got a couple minutes. One of the most common misconceptions about Scrum is that it's synonymous with Agile. Scrum is Agile, but Agile is not Scrum. So I want you to read these when you get this together. They're parallel. Again, it's a mindset from an Agile perspective. Scrum is a lightweight framework that helps people, teams, and organizations generate value through adaptive solutions for complex problems. They do employ similar functions that are iterative, incremental, and they control risk. They're organized in short iterations, during which teams work to add increment value to the product. So from a software perspective, we're going to add from the accounts payable, we're going to start to be able to image the invoices, and then we move on to the next, to the next, to the next. Key terms in Scrum, you have a Scrum Master, product owner, and developers. Scrum Master is responsible for promoting, supporting Scrum and communications. The product owner represents the project stakeholders and is responsible for prioritizing the backlogs, and you can go into different backlogs later on. The development team is a cross-functional professionals, not just developers, right? You don't just have programmers, they're cross-functional on the development team, which means you want to include you want to include the users, you want to include the development departmental team possibly. This way, as the developers proceed, these people are involved. Artifacts within Scrum, you have a product backlog, a sprint backlog, and the product increment. Product backlog is updated and prioritized based upon the increment, which is that little deliverable. The sprint backlog is the how. What are the tasks and the features that the team is, excuse me, the what, not the how, the tasks and the features the team agrees to deliver during this time-boxed sprint. Time boxes, which is the sprint, recurring block of time that'll deliver a functional product increment, meaning we're going to deliver a tricycle. Well, we need it a little bit bigger. We need a bicycle, all right, and then a scooter, then a motorcycle, till we get to what we want. And during this is the sprint planning, where the team meets at the start of the sprint to decide what items will be included. You have these daily Scrum meetings, 15 minutes or less, held at the same time and place, so that the team can discuss the status on their products, on their projects or their items. Sprint review is done at the end, where they demonstrate the product that they develop. The allotted time should be 1 hour per week of a sprint. A sprint is usually 30 days. So a month, so 4 weeks, excuse me, 4 weeks. So 4 hours is usually the sprint review. And the sprint retrospective is lessons learned. What have you learned? What was good? What was bad? So on that note, why don't we take a 15-minute break? All right, hopefully everybody is back. I want to do a quick poll. Next poll.
All right, let me set that up 1 second.
And I am having technical difficulties.
Project management. Let's go.
All right, everybody, see if we can get to 80% or more on this. What defines the goal of the project and the work that must be done to deliver it?
Scope.
What defines the goal of the project and the work that must be done to deliver it?
Scope.
Don't answer that
No,
question.
no, I didn't answer. I'm reading the chat.
Oh. Thanks, Mary. You got it. Now I answered it. Did you see what I just did?
Yes.
What defines the goal of the project and the work that must be done to deliver it? I'm telling you, we're at 60%, 63. Come on, people. We got it. 19 people. We got more coming. Not everybody's back, I bet.
Yeah, not everybody's back, I don't think.
All right. So anyway, the scope defines the goal of the project and the work that must be done to deliver it. The scope.
Okay.
Next question.
Let's hold on. The scope, that was the scope. Stop sharing. Next question, number 2, right? Yeah.
Who oversees the day-to-day management of the project that creates a timeline, prepares reports, and keeps teams motivated?
Project manager.
Yes, project manager.
Okay.
Yeah, but we have to hit 80%. Come on, people, we got this. Who oversees the day-to-day management of the project? They create the timeline. They prepare reports and keeps the team motivated. I want 80% on this. Come on, 20 people, we need more, 70%. Come on, we're getting close.
Mhm.
Just involvement, 73%, a little bit more. All right, I like 73%.
Okay.
The scope, excuse me, that was before. The project manager, yes.
All right.
Next one,
What was this?
the senior manager who provides resources and support, such as leadership and consulting, for a project to help facilitate its success.
There you go.
The senior manager who provides resources and support, such as leadership and consulting, for a project to help facilitate its success.
Senior manager. who provides-
Team leader?
The team leader, you said? We'll see.
Team leader.
Okay.
Are we
50%.
verbally speaking out the answers or are we putting?
No, hit the poll, hit the poll.
The poll.
Yeah.
Not everybody has the same ability with the polls. It depends on what software version you're using. So some people can't answer it. 70%.
73%, great. The project sponsor.
It's project sponsor, yeah.
Project sponsor. The senior should give you the hint that it's the project sponsor. The manager word is probably throwing you off, because as a manager, it may not be an executive, but it's the project sponsor.
So eight responded team leader and 4 responded project manager.
Project sponsor.
Hmm.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, so now here's
Sorry?
another exercise. This is going to be a scrum estimation kind of thing. Let me get to that. Hopefully more people coming back. This goes back to similar to like the painting of the room project. I'm going to give you a question or a statement, and I'd like for you to pick one of 3 answers. And is there 1 of 3 choices? Sorry, because there's no right or wrong here. This is a minimal exercise on estimation. Estimation is huge, and I'll tell you a little story that I had. When we were preparing to do an estimate, when we had to provide an estimate on, I was part of the transformation project, the TMO, and we were moving a large amount of employees, which not impacting them, but we were moving them from their working agency, whether they're finance or human resources, procurement, and etc. We moved people over to under HQ. Didn't impact their salaries or anything, but we just moved their titles or their working agency, not titles. And my team was primarily responsible for providing.
Not physically moving the people from location, but moving their umbrellas, like from under the agency that they're under up into HQ. Okay.
Yes, yeah. So I work at New York City Transit and the timekeeping department. Now timekeeping is moving over to HQ. So my working agency was going from transit to under HQ. We needed to move over 2,000 people. My experience working at the BSC, I estimated a duration on how long it would actually take it. There were steps that needed to be identified with the duration to execute these steps. Based upon my experience and knowledge, I provided a number. Well, that number was associated with moving 20 people, 25 people, 50 people max, not over 2,000. Because I didn't fully grasp the activities. Some were manual, some were processed through PeopleSoft, but the manual tasks, right, that I did not fully consider compounded the duration. Well, wait a minute. I said it's going to be, I forgot what it was. I think I said like 2 or 3 days. And I think it was 2 to 3 days to do like 50 people max. Well, we were moving over 2,000 people on the HQ. You can see where that number, 2 to 3 days, goes to 2 weeks. So estimating is huge. And I'm not going to, this is a fun exercise. I was just giving you a reality example of how and what, and remember the word consider, how much you need to consider when running your projects and etc. You're going to try to consider as much as possible. You will not get 100%. You will need to get close to that. We always shoot and strive for that 100%, but you won't get to that 100%. And you need to know that, but you need to know you're striving for it. So what did it do? It pushed it out. And again, I took accountability, responsibility and said, listen, this is what I estimated on based upon what I had and what I known. And I didn't fully explore the manual part, and we moved on. The project, there was no issues. It was just now unaware. How come it's taking longer? Well, this was the gap in my area. So estimation is huge. So let's go to the first question. And again, I'm just asking you a question and please answer it based upon here. The goal is to estimate making a cup of tea. How long do you think it will take you to make a cup of tea? 30 seconds to 2 minutes, 5 minutes to 10 minutes, 1 hour to 2 hours. Answer the question based upon the statement. The goal is to estimate making a cup of tea. Here, I would like to get 80% at least participating, if not more.
Yeah.
Well, this is a good group. I like to hit 90%.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Good, good, good. Oh yeah, that thing flew up.
Yeah.
I need to put my glasses on. %. Come on, we can get it.
Here it is.
82. Keep it going if we can. Just answer the question. What do you think? And in this case, there's no right or wrong. We're going to discuss.
Just based on the information given.
Yep.
Can I change my answer?
Yes, please, if you want to.
I think I only set it for one
Oh, okay.
response.
No, there's no right or wrong.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong. You
There's
can
no
put it
right
in
or
the
wrong.
chat.
This is an activity and
Yeah.
which facilitates discussion, which is what we want to do here.
Yes. Add it in the chat.
It took me 1 hour to 2 hours.
Don't laugh. If that's what you want, we'll discuss it later.
All right. I think
Again, there's no right or wrong.
move on to the next one.
Move on to the next one. Do you keep these? You'll keep the stats?
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's just go back to the menu and show the second one.
okay.
All right.
I'm asking you a question. What did you make? Did you make a cup of tea? Did you make coffee? Or did you make something else? Again, there's no right or wrong. This is
Nobody made up.
this is helping you consider. This is helping you estimate based upon considerations. 75%, so 79. Keep going. Again, no right or wrong. It's an exercise to facilitate thinking, discussion.
82.
82.
Take it.
Yep. Next one.
This one, 3.
How come, I'm sorry, here we go. Where were you when you made your whatever? Were you home, or in the office, or somewhere else? No right or wrong. Just helps facilitate a discussion.
Yep. Mhm. Where were you when you made it? 75%.
Come on, one more.
Ooh,
One more.
82. There you go.
All right. Next, last one.
This one, number 4.
Who did you make it for? Did you make it for yourself, your spouse, or someone else? No right or wrong.
$29.
One more.
Yeah. 82.
All right.
All right. Okay. And we'll go back to sport, view results, share results. And that's the results from the first one.
Very cool. So, sorry, I wasn't looking at that. All right, goal to estimate. So the bulk of you said 2.5 to 10. Again, no right or wrong. 15 said 2.5. The second one, 9 people said the first one. Nice. Next one.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
MAT.
83% said you made the tea. Nice. And someone made coffee.
4 of 4.
4 of you made coffee. Awesome.
Yeah.
Next one.
3.
Where did you make it? 50-50. Home and office.
Yeah.
I like that. Next.
4.
I like the 2 people that said their spouse. That's important. Valentine's yesterday. 19 said yourself. And 3 said someone else. Awesome.
Yep. That was it.
All right. I'm going to close this out. Let me ask you a question.
Mhm.
What assumptions did you make to complete this exercise? This is a conversation. This is question. Did you assume you had all the resources and tools available to make your tea or whatever you made? Water, electric, kettle, tea bags, milk, sugar, etc.
Yes,
Cool.
in my scenario, Jonathan's scenario. I had everything available.
Good.
Yes. as well.
Yes.
I usually drink tea. That's at least in this scenario. So
Okay.
I had everything available.
I think we're missing something from this.
What?
What device did we use to get that water warm? Was it a pot, purge machine, you know,
It says electric kettle.
So in here, did you assume you had all your resources? I'm not giving you the resources, but good question. But did you have? Can you see my mouse or no? I don't know if you can see my mouse. Did you have the kettle? I should put a, instead of a kettle, I should put a teapot, I guess. Or the kettle can make coffee or tea or anything.
Yeah.
Okay, anything could be, you know what? I don't drink coffee or tea. I had hot chocolate. But did you have everything to make that drink?
Mary said she had everything already.
Good for you. You know what? I keep the chat keeps closing on me. Already had tea bags and already in the instant hot water. Yes, so you do it every day. Nice. All right, let me go here. Now, my original question was is to make tea, make a cup of tea, or estimate how long it would take to make a cup of tea. There were people that said 30 seconds to 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes to 10. I'm sorry, somebody said the 1 to 2 hours. But all I said is estimate making a cup of tea. What would your thought pattern, or would your thoughts change if I said estimate making a cup of tea in hours? Now that changes a few things, right?
Yep.
What changes? Who's Aquina?
Yeah, the hours, I mean, when you think of it, it's like, would there be anything else? Is this tea a special cup of tea? Because at the end of the day, we know it's a common understanding, it's a norm that you don't take an hour to make a cup of tea.
No, but if I said, how many hours would it take you to make provide me an estimate of making a cup of tea in hours. Let me just read the chat.
You would assume that you don't have some of the resources,
Awesome.
or your might not be at the place where you have those resources readily available. So you might not be home or in the office where you have your stash of teas and milk and sugar, or equipment to make it. So that might be some of the assumptions. So you have to go out and buy this equipment or whatever material you.
exactly.
Right. Perfect. Because if I said, I said, give me an estimate of making a cup of tea. I gave you 3 choices. If I said, give me an estimate of making a cup of tea in hours, and I give you 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, whatever that is. But I changed it from make a cup of tea and estimate making a cup of tea in hours. Well, you know what? Okay, great. I got to get in. I'm out on Long Island, so I have to get in my car, go to the supermarket, buy the tea, get the milk, get the sugar, get whatever I like.
Get in line and pay for it.
I'm sorry, say that again, Rihanna.
Get in line and pay for it. The line
Get in
could be
line and
long.
pay for it. Perfect.
Maybe you have kids at home and are gonna, they're gonna distract you from making your cup of tea.
There you go. So
You have to change some diapers or something.
bingo. Consider it. What have you considered? Did you consider everything? So we go from one estimate, and which is make a cup of tea. And now, wait a second, give it to me in hours. That changes everything, right? We'll go into another department for supplies. Who's that? Caroline, perfect. So see how your thought pattern changes from one simple thing for estimation. From now, it's going to take me a little longer because, wait a second, I have to go to the store. I have to do this, that, and the other thing. What if I don't have a credit card? I have to go to the ATM machine to get cash, right? These are things. What if to consider? So here, and I'll show you on the next graph, you need to be conscious. This is the consideration part, that the team, the customer, and stakeholders view definitions and assumptions differently. All of us here, we did the painting exercise, right? 5 teams, same scope, different outcome. There's nothing wrong. It's, you need to be aware that the team, the customer, and the stakeholders may view different definitions and assumptions differently. Why? Let's look at this. Look at this image. We have, what am I doing? And how am I doing it? Whether it is a software project or a software change, or a combination of making tea, right? If we're close to agreement is on the y-axis, close to certainty is on the x-axis, is close to the bottom. On the top is far from agreement. Far right is far from certainty, meaning I know what I want and how I'm going to do it. This is the team. The team knows what they want and knows how to do it. It's, the execution is going to be simple. As we move far and far away from agreement and certainty, the execution could be complicated, complex, or chaotic. I'm sure that's where we start sometimes, right? Is that chaotic? We don't know what we really want, and we don't know how we're going to do it. We don't want to start off that way, right? You don't want to start off that way. As you usually get to know the what is coming probably from the stakeholders. This is what I want. The how is probably the implementation team, and it's not just IT people. The team consists of a variety of people. So look at this image and understand that your team, including the customers, the stakeholders, view definitions and assumptions differently. What helps this is the conversation, and I said this sparks the conversation. The T example sparks the conversation. Did you assume you had all the resources? Based upon the one statement, estimate making a cup of tea. And change it just by a little bit, estimate making a cup of tea in hours. Drastically changes the outcome here. So you need to have that conversation. I asked you to give me, I provided you a scope on painting the rooms. Limited scope, albeit, yes, right? Time, duration, and budget. I gave you that. Conversation is key to effective communication. I'm not saying you don't, have these conversations so that we can get as close to certainty and close to agreement so implementation can be simple. It won't be chaotic or complex. The complexity of the project could vary based upon close to agreement and close to certainty. Let's see if I can move on now. Oh, good. So let's just go over some of the things we've talked to before. We talked about earlier. Project scope. That was one of the only questions. The scope defines the goal of the project and the work that must be done to deliver it. It is the cornerstone of every project and is used to create the project schedule. The scope was to paint 2 bedrooms. You define, the goal is defined for you, and out of that, you create your schedule. It also supports for change or additional work that can be considered because you're asking questions. I asked you to estimate on making a cup of tea. There were a lot of assumptions made. I provided you 3 options to choose from. And the question I asked was, what did you assume you had everything? You can say yes, you can say no. Project manager works with the project sponsor and stakeholders to define the project scope before the project begins. This is your requirements. Nail down those requirements so we're not in a complex or chaotic environment. They know this way the project sponsor, stakeholders, or the people involved, we're all in agreement. We all understand the same thing. We understand what our end goal is, what we need to get to that end goal, support any risks or barriers. And then we get into the scheduling. The project schedule, timetable that organizes tasks, resources, due dates in a sequence so that the project can be completed on time. Now, again, this can contain whether you're doing an agile project or a waterfall project, but you have a timeline with start dates, end dates, and milestones. Work necessary to complete the project deliverables, the cost, the resources, dependencies associated. I need you to estimate making a cup of tea. What's the cost? What's the resources? What are the dependencies? Dependencies is that you have everything, right? The team members that are responsible for each task. Well, you want to make sure that you have somebody going to the store to get the ingredients, the tea, the milk, the sugar, whatever you put in it. And you could read this later on. How do you create a project scope? Or excuse me, project schedule. Once that scope is complete, and we can go into and you can actually go into detail on the work breakdown structure. I'll show you that in the next slide, and we'll go a little further down. Make a list of tasks, identify the dependencies. Now we're going to a little granular from a little high level. Calculate the duration of each task, assess and assign resources, create the milestones. Think about building a house. Your milestones are your high level activities. The goal is to build a house. First milestone is to clear the land. What's the tasks involved with clearing the land? That starts my WBS, my work breakdown structure. Make that list of activities. First thing is to hire a contractor. Second thing, contractor takes the machine and clears the land. And the other activities, where's they're moving the trees, the brush, the dirt, etc. Those are your milestones. Put the resources, dates, and durations listed for each task. The work breakdown structure, it's your building blocks of a scheduled start. It's hierarchical, and I'll show you in the next one. It's a hierarchical reflection of all the work in the project in terms of deliverables. In order to produce these deliverables, work must be performed, and this is what's showing you. And in order to create this, it's a decomposition. How do you create this? Is by decomposition. It's used to break the project scope into smaller, more manageable elements. The lowest level of the work breakdown structure is a work package, which is a manageable unit of work that can be planned, budgeted, scheduled, and controlled as an individual entity. Here's an example of building a house. We're building a house. That's our milestone. And these all could be considered milestones. So the goal is to build a house. Well, I have the house, I have a garage, excuse me. The goal is to build a home. What consists the home is the house, the garage, and landscaping. Let's follow along the line of the house. Okay, great. Now these are your milestones. And within each milestone, we break it down into further activities to achieve that goal. So we have the foundation, we have the exterior of the house, and then the interior of the house. Let's continue along the line. So we go from home to 1.1 house. let's go to 1.1.3 for the interior. Interior consists of definitely more, but we'll go with electrical, plumbing, doors, and windows. We're not going to go into furniture. We're not picking the styles of the kitchen cabinets. But we're going electrical, plumbing, and windows for the interior. Then follow it down even more. 1.1.3.3 for doors and windows. What do you need to do for doors and windows? Well, we need to procure it, right? We need to buy it. We need hardware assembly, and we need installation. So look at how this goes from we're building a home. Underneath that milestones, we have the house, the garage, and the landscape. And you can follow this through and you can continue building these tasks until you get to the last task of the doors and windows, which is installation. Then we can go with exterior, right? The exterior, then we can cover the house. We're not doing this exercise. We're executing a project. Once the project plan is done, the project manager should review with the sponsor and stakeholders what deliverables have been defined. This will avoid any miscommunications and obstacles that could be encountered in the project. Once we get that plan done, you want to ensure you're going to get obstacles, unknown obstacles. There's always unknown obstacles. But you want to at least make sure that better than 95% of the plan is understood with the team, including sponsors, stakeholders. Once the project is underway, the project manager will need to continuously monitor and control. That wasn't an answer earlier, but that's his activity, his or her activity. Monitor and control the project until completion. This involves actively reviewing the status of your project as it proceeds, evaluating potential obstacles, that's always important, and implementing necessary changes. And again, communication, said that earlier, one of the most effective ways to monitor a project is communication. Does everybody know what's going on? Does everybody have the pulse of the project? Keeping everyone in the loop is key to a successful project. Regular meetings with stakeholders, clients, team members can help prevent any miscommunications, understanding, missed deadlines, and etc. Issue regular meetings is not, I don't want to say vague. Can we have too many meetings? Yes. I remember back in the early days of building the business service center, we just had meetings upon meetings upon meetings, and you really didn't get starting work until like 3 p.m. Over the years and over time, you understand, you learn and you grow. Wait a minute, those meetings have to be, you could use a little bit of Scrum, time boxed and with an agenda. What are we going over? This way we can move on. We're not holding anybody up. Now, we're closing the project. We delivered the software enhancement. That's the last phase of the project. It's when the project manager verifies that the stakeholders or customer has accepted the project deliverable. This is it. We have modified part of PeopleSoft's financials to enhance the accounts payable processing operations department based upon what the scope and the requirements were given to us. Yes, get that sign off from the project sponsor. What is it? And an email, thank you, good job, to ensure acceptance of the deliverable. You're building a house, the owner is happy, great, I'll pay you. Then there's a retrospective in the Agile Scrum world, lessons learned. And one of the things I didn't mention early on, which is here, lessons learned, documented information that reflects both the positive and negative experiences of a project. Also, I didn't mention documentation throughout the entire project is important. We said that at the beginning, but documentation is huge. Lessons learned is important. We did a project starting actually in 2019 and went into 2020 and 2021, and it was actually a successful project. and people wanted to know why, and we documented why. What did we do right? What did we do good? What was, and you know, we did encounter along the way some problems, obstacles, which were managed. We tried to minimize as many risks as possible. But it was a successful project, utilizing different different procedures and practices that can be used going on to the next project, right? The ultimate purpose of documenting lessons learned is to provide future project teams with information that can increase their effectiveness and efficiency. What did you guys learn? Share with your coworker. Hey, this went well. Working with this team, we knew we needed to do this, or we needed to provide that. We needed to help them with this. Because it seems like you're doing something similar. What did you do? Document it and share with the teams. All members of the project team should also participate in lessons learned, because implementation is implementation, but what else could have gone well? Well, our project sponsor was critical in helping in the MTA world, was critical in helping us with the representative populations, supporting in managing work and et cetera, overtime and stuff like that, because that's huge too. Like Albert Einstein has said, the only mistake in life is the lessons not learned. So that being said, everybody, any questions, comments, concerns?
It's very good. Very good.
Thank you. Anybody want to chat? Anybody have any input, questions?
Can you forward the presentation to us, or would you be forwarding this presentation?
You'd have to say please first.
Please and thank you.
Yeah, we'll be sending that right after the class.
Okay, great.
Read the, I have a few minutes. You don't have to go to 12. We can go to 11:30. Read the appendix too. There's a few slides on the appendix, which gives you definitions that we have above in the slide, but a little bit more. You have the agile, a business case. A lot of times when doing your project charter, we didn't go into detail here. You have the definition here, but now we all want, in order to do projects, so to speak, we need to have a project charter, which contains a variety of information. Understand the components of that, understand change control, right? There's a change control management function that you can employ. It gives you definitions. These are the definitions that we went over. There's also, depending upon, if I don't know if anybody have heard, a RACI chart, where is, I'm going to get it, it's a responsible, accountable, you're a consultant, or you're a consult, or you're informed. When a RACI chart, it means that who is that project team, which includes the stakeholders, the sponsors, the stakeholders, right? The sponsors and everybody encompasses. And you put names down and you identify, are they responsible for this activity? Who is accountable for that activity? Who can be consulted regarding that activity, and who should be informed about that activity? So these are good definitions. And again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns.
SWOT analysis.
One more time. SWOT analysis. That's huge too. These are things that you can, you can do.
Strength.
Right. You could do a SWOT analysis based
Strength,
on
weakness.
Right. Yeah.
Threats.
Those are excellent things to document when doing a project, right? You know that you have the team's strengths. What is the team's weakness? Is the team's weakness, a weakness is not necessarily a negative thing upon a person, but the weakness for the project. What is the weakness? is that what happens if I start a project in early October? What does that tell you immediately? Or does it? Starting a project in October, what could be a weakness, a risk, a threat? What comes to my mind are the holidays. People take off
weather.
vacation time, right? So these are things to question yourself, question the team, and go through all this information. There's a lot of information. There's acronyms. You've seen these before. If not, they're here.
Excuse me, sir, can we have the slide?
You can have the entire presentation. It's coming your
After
way.
the class, we'll be sending it out.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're very welcome. Any other questions, comments, concerns? I'll look in the chat. If you have it, you can.
Yeah, there's a couple of people asking about the certification and if we cover them. I know that we do, but I don't know about the specifics of the programs. If you have any information on that, Armand.
Yeah, so yeah, we do have, yeah, Aisha says it. Yeah, I'm a green belt, which in Lean Six Sigma, got it through the EAM program. If you want to know, email me and I can get information to you.
I'm in the yellow belt program with Six Sigma currently.
There you go. Very good.
You did a black belt project with a green belt.
Yeah, I was on a black belt project. Honestly, I should be a black belt by this time, but you can only have one black belt leading the project. And like I said, it got dragged out for like 3 years due to COVID. But we recently just completed. So they're actually having a ceremony next month in March.
April, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe Yvelle Stanford was part of that group, or she loved it. She loved the program.
Mary, you had a question? A PMI number?
Yeah.
I have not sat for my PMP in years and years, and I'm getting ready. I've made tons and tons of excuses, and
I have my PMP,
good.
but I have to maintain it every 3 years with a certain certifications and classes. And I was wondering if I get credit for listening for or participating for 2 hours. So I was wondering if this is a certified PMP class that I could actually put in.
It is not. It's certified.
Okay.
It's a MTA
Internal.
internal.
Okay, but it was good for me
But
to.
you should be able to put it down as hours.
I think you.
Yeah, I should
think
be able to.
Yeah, they give credit towards that, but not like officially.
Right.
Wait, can we have a MTA certificate? Like,
So the certificates are not embedded in the program yet. So we'll be getting that out, but you do get the credit. It's in your training, so that credit will go on there.
thank you.
Anybody else? Any other questions?
Yeah. Any questions, comments, concerns, anything? If you think that I could have done something else different.
Yeah, we'll be sending out also the survey from this class right after this as well. And you guys have like a few days to answer.
All right. On that note, I want to wish everybody a great day. Thank you very much. I love the interaction. It was the involvement. Everything was good. Peggy, I am going to reach out to you. I need some favors. But I want to thank you guys. Aisha, your input too. Everybody, Jonathan's just names that come to mind. Mary, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.